Hey there, and welcome to Live Online from Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm Brody with a self-inspired show that hopefully helps you somehow, empowers you, inspires you to take steps to do things that are only going to make life even better. And I would know because I left my job in radio broadcasting to move back to the East Coast to focus on my personal life and the people in it. So thank you for watching. And remember, as you watch, you can comment. If you're watching in real time live, comment, I'll say hello, and you can ask questions from our guests, which tonight is all about living in what we're currently living in, which is coronavirus and the quarantine and what life is like now. And I'm going to be talking with Samantha from here in the Triangle in Raleigh, who just started working from home today, actually. And they have a 2-year-old and they've got a dog. So I know for some people, it's going to be their first time working from home. And so we want to help answer questions. If you're having a rough start with it, then, how can you, what are some of the things that you can do to help your day, to make it easier? And Samantha's going to help with that. But first, we've got Josh Zach from News Radio 680 WPTF and 98.5 here in the Triangle. Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's always a pleasure to be on the radio with you. We've been doing it a while.
Yeah, we have. And now you can actually see us. It's like the Bald Men's Club.
I'm not sure that's a good thing.
All right. So obviously you've been following the coronavirus and everything that surrounds it. It's been crazy, obviously. And so my first question is, I know you're going to give us some stats and give an update, but what are some of the things that we can do besides washing our hands with hot water and soap for 20 seconds, which seems to be the first thing that everyone says to do, and then to practice social distancing, which started as like 3 feet and now it's gone to 6 feet, being 6 foot away from somebody else, and now not being in groups of any more than 10 people. What else can we do?
Those practices are the best things to start with. And what it comes down to is just making sure that you're taking care of your own, because if you get infected, it's like any other sickness. You're going to be carrying that. You're not going to know it for a while until you start to become symptomatic. And that's what's called asymptomatic. And while you're walking around asymptomatic, you're infecting other people. So in a time like this where there's no vaccine, there's no way to treat coronavirus, they're asking people to do their best to stay away from each other and keep yourself as clean as possible, because anything that you touch could transmit something to you. And we're learning new things every day about coronavirus because, again, this is so new that the surfaces that it can live on, they're finding out it could live for 24 hours if it's on cardboard. It could live for several hours on copper. They're testing different types of surfaces. So this is one of those stories that is constantly evolving and changing statistically.
Do the 5 is what they're calling it, right? So do the 5, wash your hands often with soap and hot water, cough in your elbow, which for me, anytime I sneeze or cough, I do it into my elbow instead of your hands. Don't touch your face, which ever since they started saying don't touch your face, that's all I feel like I've been doing is touching. Like every day, I'm like scratching. Stay here. It says 3 feet, but it's 6 feet apart. And if you're feeling sick, stay home.
So and that's the biggest one right there.
Like fever, it's coughing. What were some of the other symptoms?
Lower respiratory issues. And we've all asked that question, what is lower respiratory? Because, they always talk about the upper respiratory when you're having, like a cough and maybe you're a little bit phlegmy or something like that. This lower respiratory disease is when you're having trouble breathing, shortness of breath, shallow breathing.
Okay. Now, what is if you feel like you need to be tested now, you talked earlier about sometimes walking around having it and you might not have the symptoms. That happened with actor Idris Elba, who said he didn't have any symptoms. He tested positive for coronavirus. And the only reason he got tested is because he had been in the vicinity of somebody who turns out tested positive for coronavirus.
And that's a very safe thing to do, is if you're suspecting the possibility that you've been exposed to it, then you should probably consider getting tested. The trouble right now with that line of thought is there's still a shortage of the tests. So people who are asymptomatic may not be able to get that test. There are people who have called their doctors, said that they have a cough, said that they have a fever. They still haven't been tested. And the president was questioned earlier today during a press conference about members of the NBA and professional athletes and celebrities receiving tests while they are asymptomatic, just to make sure that they're okay. And the president, as he usually does, dances around a question and walked into another line of discussion where he talked about the system being a bit broken. And I think that's a little bit what he was relating to with, celebrities and people of stature having access to a test that they might not need yet when other people do.
So it's the availability of the coronavirus test it's not like you could walk into any urgent care in the hospital and have the test administered.
That's right. And they're still working on getting as many tests as possible. The state labs administer the tests. The statistics that the state gives out are the ones that are done in their own health labs, but there are other privatized industries, hospitals and doctors' offices that are now verified to give the tests. And they're working on an alternative test at UNC Chapel Hill Hospital that they can hopefully get cleared through the FDA and the CDC and have that one available too.
How much does it cost? And like with and without, and I guess as much as you can ballpark it, with and without insurance.
Without insurance and with insurance, the question of costs to get tested, what we've been hearing is that the CDC and the federal government are going to carry the costs for the test. There is a question to treatment. If a doctor recommends different types of treatments, regimens of whatever, because again, we don't have a specific treatment for this yet because there is no vaccine. So they're still working on different ways to treat this. The biggest thing is when people are symptomatic, we're hearing these different stories when we're watching people doing live video with national news networks, and they're wearing the doctor's mask and they're talking about how terrible they feel, and they haven't been tested yet, and they just want to know. It's important to want to know if you're symptomatic, but the most important thing is if you feel symptomatic, then you have to quarantine yourself because you could be sharing this with other people. What I was getting to is that test can come back positive. If it comes back positive, you still have those symptoms. They still aren't sure how to treat you.
What's the difference between quarantine and isolation?
That's a good question. And quarantine is when you're feeling symptomatic, but you don't have a diagnosis yet. And if you have been tested, but those test results haven't come back yet, they want you to go into a quarantine. Isolation is once you have been confirmed positive for coronavirus, then you are in isolation and you are ordered to stay in isolation until you're medically cleared, which could be 14 days or longer.
Now, if you end up having the coronavirus, like Tom Hanks and his wife had it, Idris Elba has it, and they seem to be saying we're okay. So what is the expectation when you have it? What are the reports saying besides what we've heard?
And that's a great question. We're talking about this every day, and everyone seems to be having a hodgepodge of results. Some people are having a really difficult time with it, and those difficult times fall through all different types of age groups. The heaviest areas of risk are with the elderly community, people who have chronic diseases, issues that they deal with on a regular basis. Tom Hanks is diabetic, and that's a disease that is considered high risk if you contract the coronavirus. But some people can walk around and be confirmed positive and have no symptoms, no fever, no cough, but be positive for it.
Is pregnancy a factor for high risk?
They just put that in the measures today that women who are pregnant are considered high risk.
All right. Well, Josh Zach from News Radio 680 WPTF and 98.5 here in the Triangle in Raleigh, Durham. Thank you for the updates. Do you guys have toilet paper?
Funny story. A couple weeks ago, before the shopping craze, the shelves. A couple weeks ago, before the shopping craze really hit and people started raiding the shelves, I had gone to Sam's Club, and I was in the aisle for the paper products, and I'd noticed that there was nothing left, and there was a brand that I'd never bought before, and there was Charmin, and I don't really care to use Charmin. And then, there's Lionel there with the Charmin. And it's just overpriced. I think it's overpriced. So I went with the other brand, and it's a box of 45 rolls. And again, this was 2.5 weeks ago. I didn't think anything of it at the time because we hadn't been having this explosion of cases locally. But I don't understand the run on toilet paper. I really don't.
Yeah, well, I heard in a press conference today, it sounded like they're going to start limiting how much you can get, because they're saying, hey, take as much as you need, but not more, because other people need toilet paper, which I think there are alternatives. You got to have food. So
and we know the old cliche of a neighbor going next door to borrow a cup of sugar. We're going to be knocking on our neighbor's doors asking if they can spare a square.
But the one thing you're not going to have to ask your neighbor for, apparently, is alcohol.
Cheers.
Because there seems to be no shortage of that at all. So,
and ironically, alcohol is one of the things that can clean surfaces, but not the kind that you can drink.
Right.
That kind of alcohol is in short supply. Rubbing alcohol.
Is it?
Oh, yeah, because it's one of the things that's used. Isopropyl alcohol is one of the things that can help sanitize surfaces. And that's one of the things that started getting a run on in the stores, that and Purell. And then when people couldn't get hand sanitizers, they started buying up the rubbing alcohol, because rubbing alcohol can be used to make a homemade hand sanitizer.
There you go. I've seen videos of that. But Josh, Zach, thanks for talking and for confirming some of the stats and the updates that on coronavirus.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I just hope everyone stays safe, especially millennials, because that's an age group that we're finding out is showing a little bit of invincibility right now. They're kind of ignoring some of the rules, and just don't go out.
Don't go out.
The beach is going to be there a couple months from now, and you can enjoy it then.
And that's why, like, a lot of restaurants and bars are now only takeout and drive-through. And thank God that Uber Eats has decided to waive their delivery fee. So it seems like things are, businesses are working together, and it's all about plugging the businesses, especially the local businesses that, you got to show love to these local businesses. And there are businesses like landscaping companies. They can still, show up to properties, do their job, and you don't have to worry about a proximity issue. So, we got to give some love to our local businesses, and you can feel free to comment your favorite local business, wherever it may be, wherever you're watching. Josh, Zach, thanks.
Thank you. And when's the last time you were 6 feet next to the guy that cut your grass?
That's right. That's right. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Take care, buddy.
All right. So we talked about giving love to your favorite local businesses. That's something we've been doing nonstop. Again, restaurants, takeout, the drive-through, Uber Eats, and lots of other businesses as well. You could buy gift cards. That's the easy thing you could do. Go online, and now internet is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity, especially if you're working from home. And we're going to be talking with Samantha from here in the Triangle in the Raleigh-Durham area, who's a mom. She just started working from home today. But they're saying that if you need to go to the grocery store, then get what you need, but not more than what you need. So there's enough for everybody to go around. So, we don't have to keep seeing this. Got to say a big thank you to all the medical staff on the front lines. I've been seeing this on social media. Not all heroes wear capes. So thank you to all the nurses. I have multiple friends that are nurses, and, they go in, they do what they do, no matter how they feel. All the emergency personnel, first responders, paramedics, but even the people who keep the backup systems working properly at the hospitals and such. So thank you to everybody who's playing their part, even the people who work at the grocery stores. So, okay. So some of you have been working from home for the first time. I know, Samantha, okay. You pronounce your last name, please.
Last name was spelled, actually pronounced Ojedamoya.
Will you write it in?
Oh, where do you want me to write it in at?
Can you write it in on your screen?
Let me see here.
So Samantha happens to be Josh Zach's partner, so that's why they're all R2D2 Star Wars fans.
Very much so. Well, I can't. You know what, Brody? I'm not going to lie to you. I am not the most technologically savvy person.
Okay. So how do you pronounce your last name?
Ojedamoya.
Okay, there it is.
You can just leave it up there as Josh Zach. I'm still just as much the other half of him as I am myself.
So today was your first day of work from home, working remotely from home?
Today wasn't. I actually will be starting to work from home this coming Friday, and I actually chose to continue to stay in the office. I have been given the option to work remotely, and I am going to. But while I do still have my daycare option, I'm going to go on ahead and allow my daughter to continue going to daycare so that I can do as much in the office before coming home, so that when I do come home and I actually prepare myself to work, I'm going to have all of the things that I need. Because one of the most important things about working from home is making sure that you're prepared to do it. It's having the equipment to work from home. A lot of companies today, unfortunately, with everything that's going on right now, they weren't prepared to send several people out into the field to work from home. So this is going to be a learning experience for a lot of companies, as well as they're starting to send some of their employees to work from home for the first time. So it's not just the employee coming home and working. It's the company also experiencing what can we do to send our employee home to work, and how can we prepare for something like this. They are usually prepared to send home a couple of people, primarily like your administrative employees, somebody like HR, because I do HR work, and a lot of times for me to work from home, it's a lot easier for me to get home, set up a computer, and work. But when you have people who work in your accounting department, who do accounts payable, accounts receivable, you have line workers, people who are on the front lines of a bank, because I work for a financial institution, it's a lot harder to get them home and set up to actually work from home. So again, like, number one rule when learning to work from home is actually be prepared. Know that you have the right stuff to do it.
And well, that's a good question. Are the banks aren't open then? You could go through, is it just going through the drive-through? You can't walk into a bank now, right?
Well, actually, the banks are still open because they are considered a necessity, just like the gas stations are considered a necessity. Grocery stores are considered to be a necessity. Banks are still open because it is a necessity. Otherwise, people may have difficulty getting money if they need to go and get money. Even though, you've got the cash machines outside, you have to think that at some point in time, if everyone is going to the grocery stores the way they are and buying everything off the shelf, you can only imagine that people are also going to cash machines and pulling out all the cash. So, banks are still open, so people can actually still go in. The procedures to go into a bank, though, have changed just a little bit. So, like, for instance, with us, we actually have a lot of our members who are calling before coming to make sure, first of all, that we are there and that we're prepared for them to come in. I actually work for a cooperative bank that specializes in agricultural lending. So what we do is different. We're not set up like Bank of America or BB&T. We primarily work with the farming community. So our farmers, when they're doing their banking and things like that, it's different. It's not like we're a cash facility. We don't carry cash like Bank of America and stuff. I mean, it's all of it's going to be a different kind of lending. A lot of it is going to be drafted and money sent to their accounts.
Erica
So,
is saying the bank in Kenley is only open in the drive-through. Nobody can go in. So I guess maybe it's on a bank-to-bank case basis, and maybe go to the website and look.
Yeah, and a lot of banks are going to be setting up their own rules right now. And so that's the one thing that you're going to have to look at before you even try to go into your banking facility, is checking to make sure that they are going to be open or that they are available. In the smaller communities, along the East Coast, like you're thinking about someplace like in New Bern or something like that, Swan Quarters, places like that are very, very small communities. They're not very big. Chances are they're not going to be open. They will be closed. Places that are highly populated like Raleigh, a lot of the banking here is going to be closed as well, the facilities, and probably have drive-throughs open. I haven't been to a bank in a really long time. I hate to admit it because I do everything online. So I mean, I haven't had to do a whole lot of face-to-face banking, so I can't even really tell you what they're doing right now.
Well, some people have safe deposit boxes at banks. So, but granted, that could probably wait. Whatever's in there can wait, because it seems like the whole world is on hold right now anyway. So,
and yes, we all are on hold. So, bringing it back to the idea of working from home, you feel like the world actually stops when you actually have to come home and work, especially for parents, whether you're a mom or you're a dad, coming home and having to work, and maybe the daycares are closing and now you have a child at home. It's a different situation. Before having Leia, I didn't have any issues working from home because I could come home and I could work all day. I could work however many hours I needed to get the stuff done. And now with a kid, it is very different with my daughter, because being home with her means when she sees me, there's going to be a level of expectation she's going to be holding, because now we're home together. So for her, being home with mommy means, hey, we're going to have a fun day. We've got, we're going to do stuff, and my child's only 2 years old. So she doesn't understand that when I pull out my laptop, it's because I have to work. She's looking at that. And being as young as she is, I hate to admit that my child actually knows how to use an iPad better than I do. And she isn't quite 2 yet, but she can actually turn her iPad on. She can find her favorite YouTube video. She is definitely a very savvy child when it comes to technology. Same thing with the phones. She can use she can grab your phone from you and find the actual YouTube app. She knows what it looks like. She can find it, open it up, and watch her videos. And, but it's scary because all the kids around that age are like that now. Kids who have grown up in this type of environment with that kind of technology are good with technology. So as a parent, you have a couple different options when you're working from home. And, you have to remember that one of the things you're going to want to evaluate, and it's something I have to do, is I have to recognize what parts of the day am I the most productive. So for me, I'm most productive first thing in the morning. So if I have to work from home, I'm getting up at least 2 hours prior to Leia waking up. So I can at least open up my email, look at the emails, see if anything came in overnight, if there's anything that I need to reply to right away, if there are things that I need to go on ahead and set up to get my day started. So with Leia waking up, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I can get 3 to 4 hours worth of work done before she's even awake. Then I have the morning to be with her, to do her breakfast, to sit down and watch a few shows with her, to do a couple of different activities. And then, we're having lunch, and then she is ready for a nap. So by about 11:30, 12 o'clock, she's going down for a nap, and she's sleeping for maybe 2, 3 hours. So now I'm getting another 2 to 3 hours of work in to get more stuff done. And then after that, she'll get up from her nap, and now we're getting ready to get into our afternoon to start doing more things. Oh, look at that picture. I love that picture. I wish I looked like that every day, but as a working mom, that doesn't happen. That takes time. So by the afternoon, we're getting snack time done, we're getting ready for dad to come home, get dinner ready, and then, we're sitting down as a family, we're having dinner, and right before I got in here, it was bath time, and then a bottle and bedtime, and 15 minutes before I'm getting on here, she's finally asleep. And this is an everyday routine. And so another part of being prepared to work from home is having a routine. So that's another thing to keep in mind. What is your regular routine at work? How do you do things at work? And what is your routine at home? So you have to learn to combine both of them only for it to actually work.
Businesses are probably going to have to work with their employees on being a little bit more flexible, especially because kids are out of school. It's going to be a few weeks. And so now the expectations for managers and companies are also going to they're going to have to be more flexible. So earlier you did talk about companies having to be prepared as well. And, now with technology, I think technology, a lot of times we've been getting drilled into our heads, put the phone down and be present, when you're speaking with somebody, when you're in a meeting, or when you're speaking with your significant other or whatnot. And now you really do have to lean on technology. So now you have software like Zoom, to be able to do video conferencing and webinars, and, you have Skype and you have social media. So preparing your staff, training them how to use the software. For me, I've experienced in this software, it's not hard, but like you said, it's about being prepared. And I know a lot of this stuff happened pretty quickly, right? How many days, when did your bank announce that people are going to be working remotely?
Monday. We just announced it on Monday that some of our staff would have to start working from home. A lot of the staff that's going to be working from home, like I said, is going to be administrative people who are not frontline working with our members every day, because those are the people that we can actually get set up quite quickly to work from home. A lot of them have had the ability to do that. So, that's where we were ready and prepared. Now, were we ready and prepared for everybody to go home at the same time and making sure that we had everything arranged on the back end with our IT department for them to go home? No, not necessarily, but we had spent already the better half of about a week and a half trying to prepare ourselves for that. So there was a lot of conversations that were happening on the back end before we actually ever formally made an announcement to our staff that we were going to start sending people home. As we started to see the situation progress here in North Carolina, we started having these conversations when we had our first case in North Carolina. The day that we had sent out our first announcement to our staff was within an hour, a second case was announced in North Carolina. And so as these things have started progressing, we were already taking the steps to implement a business continuity plan. So a business continuity plan is what has gotten us to where we are now. And we formally launched that business continuity plan on Monday when we stated we are going to start sending people home, and then it became effective as of Wednesday. So as of today, our business continuity plan has been put into place. A lot of other businesses have already done this. They've been working on this. But, again, there were a lot of things we had to look at on the back end to ensure that our staff that was going to be working from home were prepared to work from home. And again, it all comes down to our IT department and having those discussions with them, because when you have a lot of people logging into a network offsite, you have to make sure that your system is going to be able and prepared to carry that many people logging on remotely. So especially when you're working in a company like mine or other companies that have that ability, like Google and SAS, they all have these extensive and expansive systems that are set up to have these big firewalls. And, if you get someone who's working from home and say they don't have the proper items to log in, like we use a VPN, which allows us I guess, a level of security clearance to log onto our systems through a backend, then we're able to actually log into our systems and utilize them. Otherwise, we can use our own personal Wi-Fi and internet, but we're not going to be able to access the system without actually utilizing our VPN first. So again, when I say you have to be prepared and know what you're doing, you have to make sure you are ready to come home, have the proper equipment, you're set up, you know how to use everything and log in order to do your job.
Well, luckily, a lot of IT people can also talk you through that. So, and now with technology being what it is, You can get tutorials on YouTube if your company hasn't shown you how to use a certain kind of software. We have access. As long as you have internet, you have access. And so it sounds like communicating with your office, communicating with your company on what the expectations are, and businesses to some degree are going to have no choice but to be somewhat flexible, especially with people who are parents and whose kids are, out of school. So.
And what a lot of people should do too before they ever go out to work remotely, like you said, is find out what your company's expectations are. There are some companies that allow their employees to work remotely, but they are expecting you to perform on an hourly basis. So, they are more or less, they're looking at how many hours you're logging and actually working versus some companies that are going to base it on output. They don't care how many hours you're working in a day, but they want to know that you're getting your job done. So they're going to look at output versus number of hours spent working. And a lot of times when companies have people who are regularly working remotely, they're looking at output versus, that hourly. How much time is this person spending logged in and how much time are they actually spending working? And right now, a lot of companies are trying to figure out how are we going to gauge how the employees are working, but they also know that they have a lot of employees, like you were saying, that do have families. So they are having to give in and offer that flexibility to allow people to, amend their schedule so that they can work around having their family and being with their families because they're going to need that time as well as working and, being able to commit the time to their jobs.
Is the best way to maybe schedule your day if you're working from home for the first time, if you have a child or kids, first work out the schedule of what their needs are going to be throughout the day, and then build your work day around that schedule?
Well, since Leia goes to daycare, I'm fortunate enough that they have her on a schedule. So I work off of the schedule that daycare has provided because she is accustomed to that schedule Monday through Friday. Then she has her schedule she does with us on Saturdays and Sundays. So I definitely find out what the schedule is at daycare. What time is she having breakfast? What time is she having a snack? What time is she going down for her naps? Because she's been in that schedule and on that agenda for such a long time. That is what she's going to be doing when she comes home. So for me, it's going to be okay. I understand what her schedule is at school. What is my work schedule? And again, it's starting at what parts of my day am I the most productive? So you're going to look at when you can be the most productive. And for me, I'm most productive first thing in the morning. So I typically, like during the week, if I'm when I am getting up with Leia, I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning. I'm not going to change that part of my schedule. I'm going to continue to get up at 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
But because I know I don't have to get her up for a few more hours because she actually at daycare isn't going to have her first snack or breakfast until 8 o'clock or 8:15. I have from about 5:30 till about 8 o'clock to do what work I can to get started. Then, she'll get up and again, we'll spend a couple of hours and by about 11:30 she's having lunch and then she's getting ready for a nap. So, there's 3 hours, about 3.5 hours there I'm spending with her. And then she goes down for her nap. And then she's asleep for about 2 to 3 hours. My child is very lazy. She loves napping. So I'm very fortunate. So she'll go down and she'll take a nap for about 2, 3 hours. Now I'm sitting back down in front of a computer and I'm doing an additional 2 to 3 hours worth of work. So, once I'm able to get that done and pinned down, then, she's waking up and then we're doing a snack. I can sit her down in front of the TV for a little bit and I can sit on the couch with her with my laptop and do a little bit more work. I can, call employees if it's necessary, jump on conference calls, things like that. So, it's learning to integrate both that lifestyle of being at home, but also working. And some people can do it and some can't.
She's not still in daycare, right?
Well, she is. Yes, I actually, because my daycare is still open, I am going to utilize them for the remainder of the week so that I
Are you
can.
nervous about that at all?
I am nervous because even though the daycare is asking us the right questions as far as, if we're having symptoms or if we have family members that are having symptoms, um, I am more nervous about parents who are in a tight situation, who, their jobs really, they really depend on being at work and to be compensated, that they need they need to have their child there at daycare, that maybe someone may not be 100% honest because they have to provide for their family. So yeah, as a parent, I'm definitely nervous that somebody else may not make the best decision because of what their personal needs are financially, and they may still take their child to school thinking, well, they just have a small fever. It's not anything I have to worry about. Or, they have a runny nose and, oh, they should be fine. And then still bringing their child to school and then possibly exposing, other children at the daycare to the virus. And then, your child's bringing that home to you.
Right.
So I do get nervous, and that's why, I am going to go on ahead and start working remotely after probably starting Friday. I'm going to actually start
Okay.
working remotely from home. My goal was to try to get as much done in the office. Um, and then as soon as I was able to get myself together and put together my own agenda and my list of tasks to be home for the next 2 weeks, then I'm able to come home, because then now I know I have a list of things that I need to accomplish for my job. And it's going to be important to people understand, what are your total duties? What do you have? What are your responsibilities? What can you carry home with you? What can't you carry home?
I know a lot of people already have routines for what can cause for good distractions for the kids. Some of the things that I saw, Josh Gad, aka Olaf from Frozen, is doing like live readings on Twitter to kids anywhere. As long as you're following Josh on Twitter, Josh Gad, JOSHGAD, for story time, which I think is brilliant. And, one of the things that I really started thinking about was the fact that we have all this technology. And again, we're so used to hearing, get off the phone, be present, stay in the moment. But now I think we need to rely on technology more than ever. You have Netflix, you have Hulu, and this is pretty cool. I just read yesterday that Netflix has teamed up with Google Chrome, where you can now do a viewing party. You can schedule a viewing party, so you can watch a movie or whatever it is, and you can schedule so it syncs anyone you invite. So you're watching the same thing at the same time, and you can be messaging like on the right side of the screen, which is really cool. So you've got that going with Netflix, and
That sounds like girls' night all the way around. It's just got it's spelled all over it.
you still have Skype. I know not everybody uses Skype. You have Skype. You can be kind of in a social situation up to 50 people. Now, I was reading some people had to postpone their wedding, understandably so. But then I read somebody else is like, oh, we had to cancel the kid's birthday. Why? You got to get creative. Now's the time to be creative. Jump on Skype, or, you could use Zoom for personal as well, and have everybody jump on. Everyone you were going to invite. Yes, it's not the same thing, but you're not canceling a kid's birthday party. Or, if I saw somebody today say, hey, could we do a virtual social today at 5:00? And I'm like, that's brilliant. Like a virtual social, because odds are a lot of people are working from home, and maybe you grab a drink out of the fridge and now you can do a virtual cheers. It's about getting creative. Now's the time to use social media more than ever.
Well, if you would have told me I could have had a drink, I would have had it with me. You didn't tell me that. You told me I was going to be on your show, and I'm thinking to myself, I gotta be kind of professional.
Yeah. We didn't want you half in the bag. That's right. But again, like this is a time where we really need to lean on technology. You can stay in touch with your loved ones, and
Absolutely.
there's FaceTime and this all. So and I think now not everybody thinks that way, but get creative. Just because we're quarantined doesn't mean we can't be social. Doesn't mean that you have to go stir crazy. Besides maybe going out for a walk somewhere, in your neighborhood or anything, you can get connected with people via social media and these video conferencing tools. So
absolutely. And you know what? The kids, they like using FaceTime. I know Leia loves to do it. We FaceTime with her uncle last night, and he lives in Morrisville, and she just had the best time. So, you do want to be creative with your kids, and remember, you've got to do things to keep them active throughout the day so that, when you do need to work, you can, because they're already tired or they're sitting down, they're watching a movie. Don't be afraid to be creative. Let your kids do the things that you said, I'm not going to let you do that. Today is going to be the day you can do whatever you want to do. Bubbles in the house. We've got, bubble machines. Leia loves bubbles. That's like her thing right now. So we can take her outside and put her on the patio and, stand out there with her, of course, but throw the bubble machine on and she can stay entertained for hours and run around in the yard. And she's just as happy doing that as she is anything else.
Well, I'm glad there's so many things working in our favor, like with still having access to drive through and being able to do takeout and Uber Eats, waiving the delivery fees, to make it easier for all of us, especially, people who have to work from home now. And, and you guys have a dog too. So,
we have 3 dogs.
Oh my gosh. So like when we're
dogs.
at work, it's almost like there's so many distractions, people walking into your office and all these distractions. But then, you know what, you get home and you're like, no distractions. But if you have pets and you have kids, it's a new set of distractions, right? So,
well, I'll be the first to tell you, I have ADHD. So anything is a distraction if I'm not taking my medication. So if you have ADHD, remember to take your medication first thing in the morning too. Otherwise, you're all over the place. And, I can be that way too. So for me, I have to have a structured day. If I'm going to do anything, it has to be structured. But, it's like, I don't want to say it's vacation, but when you're home, enjoy yourself too. Remember to take your breaks as well. Just like you do in an office, you get up, you walk around, you talk to your colleagues. It's the same thing at home.
Get
Don't feel like you have
outside,
to be
take a break.
stuck. Exactly.
Yeah,
Don't
get
feel like you have
outside.
to be stuck in a seat. Get up, do something else. Go outside, play with your kids, take the dogs for a walk. And, if you just, again, the same way that you have your work schedule, the same schedule you put your kids on, you can combine them. You'd be surprised how easy it would be to work from home. But I think for a lot of people, some people don't feel like they can do it because of the distractions, but you can actually put some of your own distractions in.
Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention this really quick before we go. Coloring books. I'm going to give a plug to the country station I'm on, 94.7 QDR here in the Triangle area. They have coloring books that you can go onto the website and download. And I've seen other people doing that. So lots of people reading story time, live on social media and coloring books. So, if you look around online, there are distractions you can find. So
give your kids wrapping paper and pieces of tape and open up. If you have a glass door in your house or your windows, open up your blinds, give your kids wrapping paper, give them tape, and let them go to town. Don't give them stickers. I said give them tape and give them wrapping paper and let them, put that stuff all over the windows. Let them get creative too, because they'll really enjoy it. Give them finger paints, stuff like that.
Samantha, thank you for being on the show and for sharing your working from home experience, and good luck with it. I know you've done it before. Good luck. Now you guys have a 2-year-old, so good luck and be safe.
Thanks. You guys too. I appreciate everyone watching.
Will do. All right. Thanks. And before I wrap things up, just a reminder, if you have any local businesses, wherever you are, give them some love on social media. Restaurants, whoever it may be, because they also need the help right now at a time where some businesses are really suffering and businesses slow down. Again, gift cards, I think across the board is the best way to support any business. I think that's the easiest way. So also, again, some of the local radio stations, Curtis Media Group has teamed up with the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina, where you can virtually donate food. So another way to help the people in your community. And that's what it's all about, helping people. And a reminder, another way to do that is when you're at the grocery store, not overdoing it, get enough of what you need, but keep enough for others who need as well. So I think that's it. I hope that this has helped for those of you who are working from home. And if you're working amongst other groups, again, people who are in the supermarkets and everything, thank you for what you are doing. You're kind of helping the world continue to function. And if you watched on Facebook, then like and follow. If you watched on YouTube, then subscribe. And you can always watch this on demand at brodyradio.com and keep the conversation going. And you can reach out to me via email, social media, even record a audio message on the bottom of the website at brodyradio.com. Thank you for watching. Be safe. And remember to do the 5. Wash your hands often, 20 seconds with hot water and soap. Cough in your elbow, cough or sneeze in your elbow. Don't touch your face, which has been really hard for me. Stay more than 6 feet away. That's the update now. And if you're feeling sick, stay at home. And you would think that that's a given, but it's not always. Anyway, thank you for watching. Be safe. And remember, get connected, stay inspired, be happy.